I'm sure by now it has become obvious that I am a little bit of a Ferrari fan. But what you might not know is that over the last few years, I've also developed a new appreciation for Formula One. I think the sport has genuinely improved and become a lot more exciting and dramatic to watch. And perhaps even more surprising, I am also quite a big fan of Las Vegas. Despite the fact that I don't drink and don't really gamble either, I have developed a real fondness for the place. I know it's chintzy and awful and terrible and tacky in so very many ways, but I also kinda love it for that. I mean, come on, it's my kind of town. Therefore, you'd think it was only natural that I would be looking forward to hopping over to Las Vegas for the Grand Prix to go and support my beloved Ferrari. Sadly, for some very, very basic and rather predictable reasons, there is not a snowball's chance in hell of this happening. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about why that is and why I think the Las Vegas Grand Prix could be a worrying sign of things to come. Over of Formula One by Liberty Media a number of years ago, I know had a lot of people concerned, but the truth was, I think it was definitely time for a changing of the guard. The sport's popularity was declining year on year, and people just seemed bored at even the mention of it. Now though, with the likes of Drive to Survive, I'd say Formula One has done an excellent job of finding a new audience. Sure, it's seen its fair share of controversy, a season ender and therefore championship title decided essentially by race control is not what anybody wanted, fans or, I'm sure, drivers. However, by and large, I think the racing is getting more interesting, the cars a little bit more exciting, and I've genuinely looked forward to tuning in not just to the race, but also the sprints and even qualifying as well. I'm not a new Formula One fan. I used to watch it quite a bit back in the day, and I have previously attended 2 races. One was in 1995, when Johnny Herbert won, and the other a few years later when Michael Schumacher had his rather nasty accident. Both were at Silverstone, and I have very, very fond memories of the pair of them. In the intervening years, there were a number of reasons I didn't go, including the fact I was busy, I didn't have the money, back to busy, back to money, so on and so forth. But now I found myself in the situation where I've been thinking, yeah, I should really get back to the F1. My other half has really gotten into it, and I have to say, she's, I think, a little bit more involved in it than I am. She knows all the drivers, all the stats, who's doing well, who's doing bad, what teams they came from, everything. I'm very, very impressed with her. But as of yet, she hasn't actually been to a race, and that's something I'd really love to change. However, I want it to be a memorable experience. Though Silverstone, on the face of it, would certainly be the easiest to get to, I'm also constantly concerned that it could be very typically British and simply rain the entire weekend, and that's just not going to be all that enjoyable. Was announced that the Formula One was going to be returning to Las Vegas for the first time in over 40 years, we both said, we've got to look into doing that. And we figured, you know what, first year it's going to be kind of popular, but second year, maybe we'll give it a shout. I'm not sure that's actually going to happen. I knew that going to the F1 in Vegas was going to be kind of pricey, but I didn't know just how bad it was going to be. The tickets start at $500 for the weekend, which is, I think, exceptionally reasonable. That's 3 days access, no grandstand or the like, but it gets you into the Formula One. However, perhaps predictably, the tickets sold out almost instantly, and I don't mind that. What does really, really grind my gears is the fact that currently there are a whole heap of tickets up for resale. I despise the ticket tout market. I really, really do. I pride real in-person live experiences so highly. I think they're so special. You know, going to a concert, going to a gig, it's just such an experience. It's such an event. I think it should be reserved for the people that really, really want to go. And I have absolutely no problem whatsoever for there being posh $5 grand tickets for those who really want to splash their cash. but it should also be something that is accessible to everybody who wants to go. I'm sure there are plenty of people out there that bought tickets to events and then for genuine reasons weren't able to attend. But I think if companies like Ticketmaster had any form of heart or soul, what they do is just say to you, look, tell you what, if 2 weeks before the event you can't attend, tell us, we'll refund you the money minus, say, a token fee, and then we'll resell it to someone else at face value. However, Ticketmaster do not have heart or soul. They are the work of the devil, and essentially every other ticket company is no different. So the Formula One tickets sold out pretty darn quick, and if you actually wanted a seat, they were never $500 anyway. They were about $1,500. Now, if you want to buy yourself a Formula One ticket, it's not $500, it's $1,500. And if you do want a grandstand seat, it's not $1,500, it's $2,500 or $3,000 or maybe more. I've heard many rumors of certain hotels and venues doing packages. Go and see Adele and the Formula One, $1 million. Even though I know that's an extreme example, I'm sure it is a real one, and there are plenty of places advertising exclusive packages, VIP stays that are in the tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. So let's just say you want a pair of tickets for Vegas and you weren't lucky enough to get them straight away. And let's be honest, if you were going to go to the Formula One, you knew the tickets were for sale, and you're probably going to want to make sure you've got the tickets before you get your hotel, because otherwise you could be a little bit stuck. And so now you're going to have to buy them second hand. Well, you want a pair of them and you want a seat, that's going to be $5,000. Okay, fine. It's expensive. It's Formula One. Done. Let's call it. Let's say you're happy paying that. Right, so that's that. Next up, you're going to need somewhere to stay, because one of the issues with Las Vegas is, if you haven't noticed, it's in the middle of the desert. There isn't really all that much nearby. The nearest major city is probably Los Angeles, and that's about a 5-hour drive. So if you are really, really dedicated, you and some friends could travel from LA to Vegas and back in a day. But otherwise, you're probably going to want to stay, and you're going to want to get a feel for the whole thing. Every single hotel that's on the Strip or near it is currently doing a thing where you have to stay for at least 3 or 4 nights. So if you book any of the Grand Prix nights, you have to be there. Back in the day, if you wanted a bit of cheap Formula One entertainment, you could get a Friday or Saturday ticket. I think you can still get that other places, but Vegas, I don't think, ever did it. The Venetian is one of my favourite hotels. I've stayed there a couple of times, and it can be quite reasonable. To give you an idea, when I was there at Christmas, we were paying, including the silly Vegas taxes and whatnot, about $180 to $200 a night, which for the level of hotel that it is exceptional value for money. At busier and more popular times, that goes up, say to about $300 or $400 a night. During the Formula One, though, you're talking $1,500 a night, plus taxes, plus resort fee, which is the most stupid and Vegas-y thing of all. I hate resort fees. Just in case you're not familiar, resort fees is the most typically Vegas and awful and American thing. They love their extra fees over there. It's horrid. I hate it. It should be erased from history. So to give you an example, you're going to go and stay at a hotel in Vegas. Yeah, it's call it $250 a night. Then you got to add tax, 6% or so, and then you've got to add your resort fee, which for anything on the Strip is basically $45 a night. And they claim that's for the Wi-Fi, the cleaning, the amenities, the everything else. You know, stuff that any other place would include in the room fee. I went to the Grand Canyon, did a helicopter tour once, and when you get there, they charge you another $200 fuel surcharge. You need fuel? Why don't you just bill me for that to start off with? It's an awful thing, and it's basically a way of Vegas trying to claim it's cheaper than it is. But anyway, if you're paying $1,500, I don't think the extra $45 a night is going to be that much of an issue. However, by the time you've stayed, say, 5 nights, which I think is reasonable if you're going to go to the Grand Prix, at Christmas, for one room in the Venetian, I paid about $1,500. That exact same room, for the exact same time period during the Grand Prix, $8,500. And okay, you could say, yeah, but that's because it's the Venetian. It's basically in the middle of the track. It's going to be a prime spot, and that's certainly true. What then about a cheaper hotel? Well, let's take Excalibur, which is pretty much the reference for how cheap a hotel on the Strip can be. That you can stay at, depending on time of year, for as little as $39 a night, plus taxes, plus resort fee. During the Grand Prix, though, it's closer to 400. So let's pretend you've managed to find somewhere that's just a little bit nicer than Excalibur, which is still going to be $1,500 to $2,000, and you've found a room at $3,000. So you're already up to 8 flights. Again, as you might expect, during the week of the Grand Prix, flights are much more expensive. Economy, you can normally get in and out of Vegas for about £500. However, Grand Prix week, double that. Oddly, premium economy isn't actually all that much more money. So you could say, rather than pay $1,000 for economy, pay 1,300 quid for premium, but that's still gonna be about, let's call it £2,500 for flights, depending on what rate you're able to get. All of a sudden, you are looking at 10,000 quid, or to put it another way, £2,000 a night just to go to the Formula One. And that's not posh seats, that's not a posh hotel, that's not super posh flights, and that doesn't include a drop of food, drink, or anything else. And having seen plenty of the menus from the Miami Grand Prix, I have absolutely no doubt whatsoever that Vegas is going to use every opportunity given to it to jack the prices up to eye-watering levels. Just putting that aside for a second though, anyone that's been to Vegas for the last sort of 6 months or a year will have noticed there's a lot of inconvenience having been done because of construction work for the Formula One. When the race is actually on, bearing in mind it's really a road race, I have no idea what Vegas is going to be like. I was talking to a cabbie and he said that for the Mayweather-McGregor fight, the place was carnage. He's never seen it so busy. And because Americans cannot do traffic management, I do not envy any cab driver trying to do anything while the Grand Prix is on. This is why I'm talking about hotels on the Strip, because honestly, if you're going to go for the Formula One, you want to be within walking distance. It's just as simple as that. If you think about it for a second, the Mayweather-McGregor fight was something like 5, 6, 10,000 people, not really that many. In Miami, they claim to have something like 250,000 people there to watch the race. Vegas is going to be broken. I wouldn't want to try and get in any restaurant, anywhere, at any time during that event. I'm just not confident the place can actually cope. If you wanted to do things quote-unquote properly, get a hospitality package with a popular manufacturer, it gets even worse. The cheapest circuit that you can do hospitality for is Azerbaijan, and that's less than £10,000. I think about $8,000 a head. Vegas, though, perhaps predictably, is the most expensive. $25,000 each, and that doesn't include your flight or your hotel. Now, I know you might be thinking, well, James, Formula One is expensive to go and watch. 'Twas ever thus. I don't really know what the problem is. Well, I've got a bit of an issue because, you see, one of the whole things that Liberty Media has been all about is trying to get a new generation of fan into the sport. And that, to me, should mean not just making it more accessible in terms of Drive to Survive, putting it on YouTube, giving it to various different TV stations and the like, but also making it possible for people to go. You want the people watching to be saying, hey, yeah, we want to go to the Formula One. Now there are 1 billion races a year. It should be really easy for a lot of people that want to go to the Formula One to go. It shouldn't be all that expensive. It shouldn't be all that difficult. Or there should be options, ways for you to go and experience, say, the sprint races that they have now at a much lower price than the main event. They should have a set number of tickets that they give out at like $100 each, which for the kind of level of event that it is a relatively low price. But instead, what I'm seeing here with both Miami and now Vegas and various other places is a company that just wants to try and make as much money as it possibly can. And this is concerning because anybody who knows the American business playbook will be able to tell you that when an American firm buys another one, all it does is two things. It crushes the costs and it jacks up the prices. And it does this because that is the simplest route to profit. But unfortunately, it won't work for all that long. This is not a permanent solution. Now, Now, in the case of a normal, ordinary product, what essentially happens is by the time the whole thing collapses in upon itself, all the directors responsible for this nonsense have kind of gone away. And I'm hopeful this is not going to be the case with Liberty Media. I hope they're in it for the long haul, not just to try and make it look nice and profitable so they can sell it on and pocket a chunk, having just gouged the sport for everything it's worth. But I am worried that their idea of a good venue for the sport is the likes of Las Vegas, is the likes of Miami. And what upset me about Miami is that it seemed like all they were interested in was getting as many influencers and celebrities there as they could. Have you watched the recent Miami Grand Prix? I mean, the driver's entrance ceremony, that was embarrassing. The whole Fast 10 tie-in, it felt so American, so cringy, so just awful. It's not what I want Formula One to turn into. It's supposed to be a slightly classier affair. This isn't NASCAR, for crying out loud. And I love NASCAR, but I love NASCAR for being NASCAR. I don't want Formula One to be like NASCAR. I don't want NASCAR to be like Formula One. But apparently Liberty Media do. And that's a worry. Because, you see, Formula One already has one great big millionaire loving. It's called Monaco. Let Monaco be Monaco, okay? Let it do its own thing. That's how it is. That's how it's always been. I don't really mind. We know the racing is kind of rubbish, but we forgive it because it's Monaco. It has prestige that it's earned over the years. However, when it comes to creating and building new things, I tell you what, the racing in Vegas better be amazing, because the racing in Miami was pretty boring. The racing in Azerbaijan seemed pretty boring, though my friends tell me there was lots of action going on, just not on the telly. I actually switched it off, got near the end and got bored, which I'm sure some people will tell me they did for the Formula One back in 2001. However, I liked the way the sport was going. I liked what was happening. I was excited about it. And this to me just seems like a bit of a greedy backwards step. I mean, what's next? You can only watch the race on the Liberty Media app, yours for just £200 a year. It sounds stupid, doesn't it? But if Motor Trend can try it and think that it was a good idea, what's to stop Liberty Media? I'm sure they get hundreds of millions, if not billions a year in terms of TV rights, but I'm sure someone in an office somewhere is doing maths going, yeah, but we can make more. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's about making more money. And what I think they should be doing, I know it's desperately unpopular these days, is instead focus on a good product that's exciting, that's interesting, without having to edit it so that it looks exciting. Make it actually exciting. Encourage proper racing, and they're getting there, they're doing it. I know it's not easy, you can't just do these things overnight. However, I also think in terms of ensuring that the sport has a next generation of fans, you should make sure that it is just a little bit more accessible. I don't think it's a lot to ask. But perhaps I'm wrong. Are you going to the Las Vegas Grand Prix? Did you try and go to the Las Vegas Grand Prix? Did you go to Miami? Did you have a fantastic time for a reasonable price? Am I talking out of my proverbial? Please hop into the comment section and let me know. But until the next time, I want to say a huge thank you to all of you for tuning in. And don't forget to hit the like button, comment down below, and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you for the next one. Bye-bye.